Oh, hello. Hello. We're live. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me this evening. I'm Amanda Call. You're watching my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna do some arts. I'm continuing my latest new series of skull illustrations, and now it's even like seasonally appropriate because now it's October. So it's skeletons and bats and fun things month of Halloween and all that goodness. So I'm doing a skull. I do skulls all year round, but specifically tonight I'm also doing a skull. I have a little sketchy sketch over here. Got a few little sketches as just a guideline of what I'm doing. And I have some reference images that I have brought up on my screen, which you cannot see because it is not in frame of the camera. But that is what I'll be looking at to make sure that I am drawing things that actually look like reality. And yeah, so without any further yammering from me, we'll go ahead and get going on this, and I'll start my underdrawing. Hey, Hungry. Thanks for joining me. Oh, I don't want it up that high. I love how the first lines that I make on the page, I'm already like, no, that was wrong. Let's try that again. I feel like my camera is like a little bit too high up too. If I were a professional, I would have actually figured this out beforehand, but no, of course not. All right, let's get this big old potato cranium in here. Just kind of knocking in the basic shapes here. I feel like I made that eye way too big. Eraser. Yeah. Okay, this paper is expensive. It's also, this is like mixed media. Like, what's the weight on this? Yeah, it's 184-pound paper. It doesn't crumple super well. It's like trying to crumple up a piece of cardboard. I feel like I made that eyeball too big, or that eye socket too big. It's not an eyeball. The eyeball is gone. Oh, hello, Spud. Yeah, it's nice and let's see if the mic will pick it up. It's nice and hefty. If you can hear that like flop, but yeah, it's some oh, there goes my eraser. It's some nice thick paper. Part of why I like this is that it does hold up very well to being erased on over and over again. And this is the mixed media paper, the Strathmore uh vellum mixed media for 300, yeah, 300 series, and it's 184 pound, but it's really nice. So it's good with oh no, it is 400 series. I don't know where they get some of this because it's 300 grams, but whatever. Anyway, it's a 400 series. But yeah, it's really good with like a lot of different types of media, and it does really well with both wet and dry. So that's part of why I like it. Um, it's held up really well. I had used some other Strathmore mixed media paper, and then that particular one, and I was using the Canson mixed media a lot, and I liked the Canson mixed media just fine. But then my friend Jesse Lundberg, another artist, whom you should check out if you have not, from my many times talking about him. He was like, "Oh, I started using this stuff and you're gonna really like it if you try it." And I did try it and I was like, "You are correct, sir. I do like this a whole bunch." So now that's kind of my go-to as well. Because it holds up really well to, like, especially when I do, like, the color pieces where I do the like, a little bit of wet and then a little bit of dry on top. It, like, holds up really well to the wet media and doesn't buckle too much. Um, but then it still has, like, a smooth enough surface that you can also go over it with colored pencil or just do colored pencil on it without having, like, a bunch of little ridges like you do with, a watercolor paper. Watercolor paper has just, like, a little bit too much texture for trying to do too much colored pencil or dry media on it. It just gets a little bit too rough. Most of it anyway. Okay, that's a basic skull shape. I feel like this guy does not actually have a sufficient amount of cranium. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. There we go. That's better. Big old skull. That's looking a little bit more proportional. All right, now for this one's crown, need to look some things up because we want this whole area. All right, that's part of it. And now I'm gonna kind of rough in the rest of the crown. Okay, so that's the basic shape we have going on here. Now we have it roughed in, so now let's go back and start tightening up some of the details on the skull. I need to find what I did with my little pencil sharpener for this guy, because I know I've mentioned this before. This is one of these things that it feels like should be kind of a standard thing, and it's not. So, like, this Stedler pencil, like, lead holder. It's not actual lead, but for lack of a better word, lead holder. Okay. I'm just going to point out, all right, this right here, that little symbol, that's Stedler's little brand symbol, okay? So this is the pencil holder I've had for like the lead holder I've had for like 20 years that is slowly disintegrating from many years of use. And I'll point out that same little symbol, that little like Spartan helmet guy. It's right there. It's kind of hard to see because everything else on it has worn off, but there's a little like engraved bit on the clip where you can see this is also a Stedler lead holder. And if you look them up, you can find them. It's the same thing. This also made by Stedler, right? And this is the sharpener for this lead holder. And it goes in here and you go sharpen, 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 and it sharpens your lead and everything's great, right? But then for some reason, this does not fit in this. Why did you guys make a lead holder that doesn't fit in your lead pointer? I don't understand. I don't understand. It's too wide. It won't fit in far enough to actually sharpen. I don't understand why they did that. It's extremely frustrating. And so for like a long time, I just didn't use this even though I had bought it because it's not like there was anything on the product listing that was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, this is not going to work in the lead holder in the lead pointer you already have." So have fun with that. But instead, I have this little guy from uni that just has that one little tiny hole. And this I realized I found online. I think I found it on Jet Pens, I want to say. But this one I can just put the lead in and sharpen it. And it works. And the reason I bought this was just so I had a smaller, like little travel lead pointer instead of having to take the big one that doesn't fit super well in my pencil box when I'm traveling. But then, yeah, it turns out that it actually works on this. So, yay, I can actually use this one now, which is good too because it's solid metal, so hopefully it'll last for a good long time. This this beast has, like I said, lasted 20 years, which I can't hardly believe. But the body is plastic and it's got a few little like hairline cracks starting on it. And I'm afraid that one of these days I'm going to be drawing and it's just going to like crumble in my hands. So wanted to have a backup plan before that happens. Because the day is coming. It's going to happen. All right, let's clean up some of these scratchy little lines here. All right, so how is everybody doing? How's everyone's weekend? Hope if yourself or your friends and family are in the U.S. Southern Appalachia region that they're okay. They are somewhere safe. My weekend was not super eventful up here. I got my COVID and flu vaccines for the season. And that laid me out pretty well. Which is part of why did them on a weekend where I knew I didn't have a whole lot else I had to do because I was like, "Yeah, this is probably gonna kick my butt quite a bit." And it did, just to warn you. Last year didn't really kick my butt super hard. This year really kicked my butt. I was I was very tired. Gave me, like, headache, body aches, all that fun stuff. So just be forewarned if you, get yours to block out some time because you're gonna wanna just kind of rest and power through the misery. Oh, I'm slipping out of frame. What am I doing? Alright, gotta get some of that depth. These are not flat forms. There is some depth to each of these little bits of bone here. Some of these are almost look like little ribbon thin areas, but they do have some depth to them, so we gotta make sure we're showing that too. This actually has a weird shape to it. This goes like back here. Hmm. Weird. Anyway. All right. There's like a weird plane change that goes on in here where this starts going like this way a little bit. And this kind of goes like this way. And then we've got some of these cool little lines in here. I keep on bonking into the camera with my glasses. I'm sorry. One of those cool little skull fusy lines there. This, I'm missing a piece of this. This needs to come down more. Like that. And then you get this guy, the mandible. All right. Who has some fun plans for October? I was just messaging one of my friends like we need to figure this out. We need a plan cuz I have lots of like responsibilities and stuff, but we need to get our scary spooky skeletons on. What is this skull being paired with? I've sketched it in here. Do you have a guess? I'll start doing it soon. Because I'm almost done with the bone part. Also, Jason Aarons, I'm glad to see that you had power back. How are you doing? And clearly you at least have some internet, even if it's just cell phone internet. Lights on maybe 3 hours ago. Wow. How are things in the savannah? I know it wasn't right in the way of the worst of it, but I know folks were out of power and internet and everything else there too. Everything in the fridge was a wash. Boo, but I'm a bachelor, so that was only some frozen chicken and cilantro. Silver linings. uh, Silver linings. Benefits of not ever actually keeping anything in your fridge. Oh well. Planning on Epcot for your birthday. Oh, nice. Hey, Joe. I'm doing well. That's cool. It's Jason's birthday. Well, it's your birthday month anyway. All right, I've got all those teeth. October 30th. Oh, that's right. Spooky. My youngest kid has a birthday coming up in mid-October, and he's going to be turning 9, which makes no sense to me. And Facebook recently showed me like a memory of when I was super pregnant with him. And I was just like, "Oh my goodness, that feels like a million years ago at this point." Uh, he's a Libra. I'm not enough of a zodiac person to like know what know what any of this mean. Boo, mean. You're so mean. To know what any of this means. I don't know. I always feel like anytime I like tell people anything about like my chart or whatever, and they get a reaction kind of like I just told them I have a terminal illness. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to know any more about it than I do. People who are like really into it, I'm like, "Oh yes, this is my, my big 4 or whatever." And they're like, oh my god." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Sorry. Did I offend you? I don't understand." Who's a Libra? My youngest child, whose birthday is coming up a little later this month. How are you doing, dear Go? Haven't seen you in a little bit. Hey, it's Keith. Hello, friends. So many people I haven't seen in a little bit. Good to see you all. I'm very meticulously drawing all these little teeths. Teeth are so weird. What even holds them to a skull without gums? Oh, cool. All you really know. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I like I know that like thank you. I know what like my birth chart is, like the big parts of it. I figured out I did one of those little online things that figured out like all the different parts of it. They're not tufts of hair. They're going to be something you're going to see soon. It's a crown. It's like a floral crown, but these aren't quite flowers. Well, some parts of them are kind of flowers. But once I'm done with teeth, we'll be moving on to that. And what even holds teeth in without gums? Not much. That's part of why so many skulls that you find or that we find, the rhetorical you. I don't imagine most people are just out looking for skulls all the time or missing teeth. Uh, because yeah, depending on the makeup of the tooth, some of the teeth have like more robust roots than others. So like underneath here. Oh yeah, yeah, Granite Con was really fun. That was a good one. So underneath here, inside the jaw, like they'll have you have your little roots that grow out, and so like a lot of them will tend to kind of you can see spread further than like the opening in the top here, so they're just kind of like wedged in there. But then as you know, as the bone starts to decay and all those little tiny bits around the edges kind of fall apart, um, then it can fall out. But usually it's just the fact that those roots are really, really wide. I have a skull here for drawing. His name is Billy Bones, and he's missing his front tooth. Aw. Yep, I have a couple of deer skulls sitting out on my windowsill right outside of the studio because if I find them, like I'll find them as like roadkill or the dog will drag them in from the woods or whatever because I live in the woods. So that happens. So I have a couple of them sitting outside the studio, and I noticed that one of them, a couple of the teeth just like plopped out of it. They're just sitting right next to it. They just went like plop plop. Like, oh, okay. All right, teeths. Okay, we have some teeths. Thank you. We have some teeths. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the depth around different parts of the jaw. I don't want to get too flat. I don't want to forget where some of this stuff is when I go in with inks. So, all right. Oh, there's some up top I need to fill in as well. All right. Okay, so I have I have some skeleton situation going on. Um, so, Dirigo, my I have this set of skull illustrations that I did, oh goodness, like 7, 8 years ago now, like a long time ago now. And they've been a standby of my like convention print rotation for the entire time that they have existed. And they've been consistently pretty decent sellers. People always stop and they're like, "Oh, I love those skulls. They're so cool." But the thing is that like I've had them for 7, 8 years, and so I was just kind of like, "Oh, they're still good, but I'm just getting kind of tired of them." And that's my series of the Four Seasons skulls. And so I was like, I'd like to do a new series of skull images, just to kind of freshen it up, like revisit the theme because it's been a while. Uh, but I didn't hadn't thought of like a good theme to draw them all around because, like I said previously, the last set was Four Seasons, so your little series of four had a theme to base them all around. But then I finally had an idea of what to do for a new series, and that's what I am working on now. And this is a series of boozy skulls. So what it's for is basically just myself for something that I wanted to do. And obviously I'll like sell prints of them and that sort of thing, but it's just for the heck of it basically. Um yeah, so previously on the stream I worked on the wine skull and the gin skull, and this one you'll see momentarily what it is. Did we have any guesses? I haven't seen any guesses yet as to what this is that I'm working on. I've been keeping an eye on the chat, but I haven't seen it. The Leafs are probably not going to do much for you, but that's not what the vein pattern looks like on this at all. What are you doing, Amanda? Whoop. Okay, what is this vein pattern on this leaf supposed to actually look like? It's very weird. Leafy earmuffs. Yeah, I've got so I have references pulled up on my screen, which is just over here to my left, literally like standing up next to my drafting table just on the very edge of it, like just barely out of frame. I have my second computer screen up with a reference image or a series of reference images that I'm kind of tabbing between as needed. Because I could draw some stuff from my head, but I want stuff to actually look like how it's supposed to. So, all right, now it's gonna give it away. Yes, you got it. You got it, dear go. It's barley and hops. I was gonna say, once I actually start drawing the detail on the hops, it's gonna be pretty obvious. It's getting a little bit too much curve in it a little too early. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, this is fun. Of course, hops are like a fairly complex little shape. I have not had hardly any beer in like a month because of my stupid stomach problems. I think I had like one glass of beer with dinner on 2 different nights at Granite Con, and like that has been it for the for the last month. It's a bummer. Not like I'm a huge heavy drinker anyway, but it's like I like to be able to just have a beer every once in a while and not have it be just like completely not an option because my stomach hates me. It is doing better, but it's still not like it has improved, but it is not cured at this point, I guess you could say. I'm still taking medicine to try to keep it happy, and then for the most part, like, day to day, it does okay, and then, randomly, it'll just be like, "Haha, just kidding, gonna make you suffer now." I'm like, "Why? Why are you doing this to me? Why did I didn't even do anything." And it's not like, I've been pretty conscientious about what I'm eating and trying to keep track of like, "Oh, what did I eat? Is it something that could cause my stomach to get upset?" And and that has not been the case. It's just like happened randomly. I'm like, "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" Yeah, it's been a time. I'm at least feeling well enough now that I'm not like I'm not miserable all the time. I was miserable all the time for a good portion of the month of September, almost the entire month of September. And now I'm just like desperately trying to play catch up on stuff because that is a very long time to be getting absolutely nothing done. Let's see. If it makes you feel any better, I made up for your lack of beer this month. Joe says, this reminds me a little of the famous Swamp Thing image where Swampy has grown bouquets of pink roses in his hands. Aw, cool. Thank you. That's nice. That's a nice image. I like that. All right. I think this is going to be like the first one of our skulls that's going to take me more than one session to draw because these shapes are pretty complicated. And I have not gotten super far on them yet. So we'll probably continue drawing this next week because we only have like 13-ish minutes left to this stream. All right. So, what's going on as far as fun October plans for people? I'll let you know some of the stuff I'm doing. This weekend, I'm going to be at Bangor Comic and Toy Con in Bangor, Maine. So, if you're in the area, you should come down and say hi. This will be at the Cross Insurance Center. I will be there all weekend. It's like Friday, it starts at 3, and then yeah, I am. I'm gonna put them up. I'm hoping to have them excuse me. I'm hoping to have them done by the end of this month if I can, and then I can have them up for the holidays and have prints available online. Yeah, so like I was saying, I will be at Bangor Comic and Toy Con all weekend. You can see me Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, I think the show starts at 3, and then it's gonna be going on all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I'm a guest artist there. I managed to pull guest status somehow. And then I'll have like a weekend off. Off, I say, as if I'm not gonna have a million things to do at home. But a weekend off from doing events, and then the weekend after that, so the weekend of like the 20, I need to look at whatever the 20s weekend in the first 20s weekend. The 18th, 19th, 20th, I will be in Austin, Minnesota for Austicon with Skirmisher Publishing. That is now Skirmisher's home convention, and so that is where I am gonna be. Looking forward to it. I have not ever been to Minnesota, so that'll be a fun new experience. And it's always a good time getting together with my Skirmisher fam. Aw, yeah, I'll definitely have to look for that. October will be spent getting ready for winter, aka doing firewood. Yes, absolutely. I've definitely had a few days where I've stepped outside. I don't heat with wood, but we did when I was growing up. I don't heat with wood because I live in a trailer, and that's a bad plan. Like I live on a wood lot. It would be nice to heat with wood, except I don't want to burn my house down. So it's just generally not a good plan to heat with wood when you live in a trailer, since your house is literally made of tinder. But we used to heat with wood when I was growing up, and there's been several. We've been getting into that part of autumn where you walk outside, and I'm just like, ah, yeah, this is a wood cutting day. It's just like a certain combination of like temperature and like crispness and preferably a little bit of overcast, like a little bit of cloud cover. And you're just like, ah, yes, this is a woodcutting day. this is this is the type of day I would have been dragged off into the forest to go cut wood and haul it in. True story. Yes, that's yeah, we dragged you into that occasionally. Yeah, you were pretty all right, boyfriend. Woefully behind, which isn't unusual. Well, that's always how it goes. Sifting for usable coals for your mom's fire. Yeah. Blech. Yeah. I will say that is one thing. Like I do sometimes miss like a wood fire is just so nice. It just heats in such a really nice like really actually heats you through, heats makes you feel like nice and warm and cozy. Um And I miss that sometimes. I super do not miss and even, like, cutting wood, hauling wood, like, it's hard work, but I didn't mind it because it's just, like, I like exercising. I like doing hard work that actually, like, leads to something where I actually have like, thing I can point to at the end, like, "Hey, look, we accomplished this." Like, stacking up a cord of wood is like, "Hey, look, I stacked a cord of wood. That's something I've accomplished." And all of that, I didn't mind so much. I absolutely do not in any way miss cleaning wood stoves, cleaning any type of anything burning stove, because I don't miss having to deal with soot and ash and trying to and smoke and wood dust and just trying to keep your house from being just coated in a fine layer of soot and dust and all of that stuff. I don't miss any of that. Like the just inherent dirtiness, I do not miss one bit. Because for a while when we lived in a cabin, what is now my studio, uh, we heated with a pellet stove. And the pellet stove, while it was a lot easier and in some ways cleaner than a wood stove, it was still a there was still a ton of ash. There was still a ton of dust. It's still messy. It's still gross. It sucks to deal with. especially when it's like the middle of winter and you're like, I need to shut the stove down and clean it because it is absolutely bursting with ashes, but it is still very cold outside. So I have to let it get pretty darn cold in my house because I have to clean it because it's dangerous to let it get built up. And also, it's not actually heating very effectively because now it's like insulating itself with all of the ash. Yeah, I don't miss any of that. The popping, crackling wood is not good for those of a nervous disposition or pets who sit in the hearth when it's flaming. That too. Yeah. The cats would tend to they like to sit on the hopper of the pellet stove, which didn't get very hot but was nice and warm. They would actually step on the surface of the pellet stove, like, one time. It's one of those things that it's like, it's not hot enough to burn you when you touch it, but it's hot enough that when you touch it, you're like, "Oh, that's hot." And Dear says, "I have a pellet stove for one side of the house, and I don't love it. Wish we had gone with the mini split heat pump." Yeah, I have a heat pump out in the studio now, and it's really nice. But okay, that is gonna do it for this evening. If you're in Bangor this weekend, come visit me at Bangor Comic and Toy Con. And if you can't do that, just check me out here online. You can watch my streams. I'll be doing this again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can find me on my webcomic, ageofnight.com. You can follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/ageofnight. And yeah, on all the different social medias, Age of Night and Amanda Call Art. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.